Level 1. The small fish. First offense. You didn't plan to be here, that's what everyone says. The detective who arrested you has heard it 1,000 times. The judge who processed you has heard it 10,000 times. The system doesn't care whether it's true in your case, it is true. You were 23. A car. You didn't ask what was in it. You knew better than to ask, which means you knew enough to be guilty and not enough to be smart about it. The arrest was unremarkable. 18 months, served 11. The most ordinary version of a story that repeats itself across every city in the world every single day. What wasn't ordinary was what happened after. You came out different, more calibrated. The 11 months taught you things no classroom teaches. How systems work from the inside. How people in desperate situations make calculations. How the difference between the ones who survive and the ones who don't is almost always information and patience, rather than strength. You came out with a small network. Unreliable, but real. You came out with a file. The file is the thing that changes everything. Once your name is in the system, fingerprints, photograph, case number, you are a known quantity. Every subsequent interaction with law enforcement starts from a different place. You understand this immediately. You decide to make it worth it. Level 2. The repeat offender. On the radar. 2 years after release, you're running a small operation. Import and export, the technical term for moving things across borders that aren't supposed to cross borders. Cigarettes, luxury goods, occasionally pharmaceuticals. The margins are thin but consistent. The risk is manageable. Local law enforcement, customs officers navigated through timing and modest financial arrangements. 6 associates, not employees. People who appear when needed and disappear when not. The smaller the permanent structure, the smaller the exposure. Interpol doesn't know you exist yet. Local police know you exist. You're on their list. A mid-level nuisance worth monitoring, not worth the resources of a major operation. You stay deliberately below the threshold of major operations. The file grows quietly. New entries, new connections mapped by analysts building a picture of your network without you knowing the picture is being built. You think you're invisible. You're not invisible. You're just not the priority yet. Level 3. The fugitive, running from the law. The warrant arrives on a Tuesday, not to you, to the address you haven't lived at in 8 months. But word travels faster than warrants in the world you move through. You know about it within 6 hours. You're across the border within 12. This is the transition most people don't survive cleanly. The moment when the operation stops being about making money and starts being about staying free. The two objectives are not always compatible. You have resources, cash in 3 currencies, documents in 2 names, contacts in 4 cities. You've been building this infrastructure for 2 years without fully acknowledging why. Some part of you understood this moment was coming before the rest of you was ready to admit it. You move between apartments, never more than 3 weeks in one place. Cash for everything. Phones used once and discarded. Meetings in public places, never the same location twice. The discipline is exhausting. You are 29 years old, living like a man who has already made all his mistakes. Interpol opens a file on you in month 2. A yellow notice first. Information request. Wanted person. Your photograph enters the system. Your known aliases. Your last known locations. 195 countries now have your face. Most will never see it. A few will. Level 4. The career criminal. Professional, 4 years running. You've built something real, not despite being a fugitive, partially because of it. The discipline that staying free required restructured everything. The operation is leaner, smarter, more compartmentalized than anything you ran before the warrant. Your network spans 6 countries. People you've never met in person, relationships built through intermediaries, through encrypted communication, through the trust that develops between people who share mutual vulnerability. Everyone in your network has something to lose. That shared exposure is the glue. You move money primarily now. Physical goods were too risky at your exposure level. Money is cleaner, more abstract, harder to trace when done correctly. You've become very good at doing it correctly. Interpol upgrades your file. Red Notice now, the closest thing to an international arrest warrant that exists. 340 pages across 6 national law enforcement databases. 3 analysts in 3 countries whose job is, in part, to find you. You know about 2 of them. The third one concerns you, not because you know who they are, because you don't. Level 5. The organized crime figure. Connected. You have protection now, not the informal protection of a small network watching each other's backs. Structural protection, the kind that comes from being useful to people with the ability to make problems disappear. You're connected to 3 separate organized crime structures across 2 continents. Not a member of any of them. That distinction is deliberate and important. Membership means obligation, means hierarchy, means someone above you making decisions about your fate. You are a contractor, a specialist they use because your infrastructure fills gaps in their operations. You move their money. You solve logistical problems. You provide access to networks they don't have. In exchange, you receive something more valuable than money at this point: insulation. When law enforcement gets close, someone makes a call. When a border becomes difficult, someone has a conversation. When your name surfaces in an investigation, someone ensures it surfaces in a way that leads nowhere. You clear $2 million a year. Most of it moves through 4 shell companies across 3 jurisdictions before it becomes anything resembling accessible. The lifestyle is deliberately modest. A mid-range apartment in Tbilisi, a used car. Nothing that signals wealth to anyone paying attention. The men who get caught at this level get caught because they couldn't resist looking like what they were. You look like a quiet man with a small import business. That's the whole point. Level 6. The International Fugitive. Global Manhunt. 7 years running. Your Red Notice has been active for 5 of them. You've changed appearance twice. Hair, weight, minor cosmetic adjustments that complicate facial recognition without triggering the kind of dramatic transformation that itself draws attention. You have 4 complete identities, each with its own history, its own documentation, its own digital footprint constructed over years. You operate primarily in countries with limited extradition agreements: Georgia, Serbia, Montenegro, brief periods in Southeast Asia. The geography of your life is determined not by preference but by the map of international law enforcement cooperation. You live in the gaps between jurisdictions. Interpol has dedicated a working group to your case. 8 investigators across 5 countries. They've mapped your network to approximately 60% accuracy. You know this because one of your contacts has access to a law enforcement database and checks periodically. The 40% they haven't mapped is what keeps you free. You've been within 1 hour of arrest twice. Once in Budapest, a surveillance team you spotted from a window and walked away from slowly, calmly, without breaking stride. Once in Dubai, a tip that came through the right channel at the right moment. Both times you packed 1 bag and left everything else. You've become very good at leaving everything else. The psychological cost of this life is specific and cumulative. You haven't used your real name in 4 years. The people from your life before, family, friends, the version of yourself that existed before the car and the arrest and the file, they exist in a part of your memory that you've learned to keep locked because opening it is operationally dangerous. Longing is a distraction. Distractions get you caught. Level 7. The Ghost. Officially untraceable. 10 years. You are 43 years old and you have not existed officially for the last 6 of them. The identity you were born with, the name, the number, the paper trail of a life, was burned completely in year 4. Not metaphorically. You paid a significant sum to people who specialize in the permanent erasure of official existence. Birth records, tax records, the digital residue of a life lived in systems that track everything. What replaced it is a construction so thorough that you've occasionally forgotten it's a construction. You operate through a single trusted intermediary now. One person who knows where you are and serves as the single connection point between you and everything else. This is maximum security through maximum simplicity. The more connections, the more exposure. One connection, managed with absolute care. That's the architecture. Your financial infrastructure spans 12 jurisdictions. The money moves through a sequence of entities so complex that the analysts tracking it have described it in their reports you've seen through channels they don't know exist, as one of the most sophisticated laundering structures they've encountered. You read that assessment with something that isn't quite pride. It's closer to the satisfaction of a craftsman who has been told his work is good. Interpol's working group has been expanded. 12 investigators now. A dedicated financial crimes unit. Cooperation from 6 national agencies. They've been looking for you for 8 years. They have not found you. They have found your edges, the faint outlines of your infrastructure, the ghost of your movement, the residue you leave despite every precaution, but not you. You are the center of a shape they can almost see. Almost. Level 8. The number 1. Most wanted on Earth. Your file is 1,200 pages. That number was told to you by someone who shouldn't have had access to it, and whose access you've never questioned, because the information has always been accurate, and questioning sources is how sources disappear. 1,200 pages across 9 countries. Charges that include financial crimes, organized crime facilitation, money laundering at a scale that affected the economies of 3 small nations, and a handful of other things that are described in language so careful and legal that the actual events are almost unrecognizable. You are number 1 on Interpol's most wanted list. You found out on a Tuesday, the same way you find out everything, through a channel, through an intermediary, through the information network that has kept you alive and free for 12 years. You sat with it for a long time. It's a strange thing to be known for something you cannot be known for. The most wanted man in the world sitting in a rented apartment in a city that doesn't know he's there, reading about himself in a document he shouldn't have access to. You are 51 years old. You haven't slept in the same bed for more than 3 weeks in 9 years. You haven't spoken to anyone who knew you before all of this in 7 years. You have more money than you could spend in 4 lifetimes moving through systems that protect it from a world that would take it instantly if it knew where to look. What you don't have is harder to name. Not freedom. You move more freely than most people, across more borders, through more cities. Not safety. You've been safe technically for 12 years. The thing that existed before the car and the warrant and the first border crossing and the first false name, and the first morning you woke up and had to remember for a moment who you were supposed to be today. That thing. You don't think about it directly. You never think about anything directly at this level. You think about the next city, the next identity, the next move in a game that has no winning condition, only continuation. The phone vibrates once. A single message from your intermediary. 3 words. They found something. You close the laptop, you stand up, you pack the one bag, you leave everything else. Somewhere tonight, a 23-year-old is sitting in a car. Someone has just asked him to drive it somewhere. He's doing the math, the money, the risk, the specific calculation of a young man who needs something and has been offered a way to get it that requires not asking certain questions. He doesn't ask the questions, he starts the car. He doesn't know about the file that will open in 3 years. He doesn't know about the photograph that will be taken in Amsterdam on a Wednesday afternoon 11 years from now. He doesn't know about the bag he will learn to pack in 30 seconds. He doesn't know about the 3 words that will arrive on a phone in a city he hasn't been born into yet. He just drives. They always just drive. The file is already waiting for him. It always was.